Happening, troops. We've got a good podcast coming up today. Going to be speaking with Garry for EMPWRD Radio. So, tell us a wee bit about yourself, Garry, mate.
Aye, well, thanks for having me. Basically, back in 2020, I decided to start a podcast, and that was only after a full year of, like, I swear to God, like, procrastination to the highest order. Man, I said that I was going to start a podcast back in like November 2019. The first time I released my first episode of my podcast was in November 2020. So that full year, I was just like full of bullshit. I was in negative cycles. Just there's a thing that looking back in it in hindsight, it was a loop of procrastinating, and then the procrastinating would lead to like analysis. So I was thinking through the situations, and that became over analysis, and then I'd be back to procrastination. So nothing was getting done during the time. So then I eventually suffocated myself out of my own bullshit and released my first episode of my podcast, and sort of been rolling with it from there. And it's been a couple different rebrands of the podcast, still try to find its final form, but overall it's been a really good experience. It's a good excuse to meet new people as well, and have interactions that you might not have had prior to starting it.
I know, definitely. I totally agree with what you're saying as well, because we were thinking about doing this podcast in the first lockdown back in March, and it was like this big idea, and we had amazing things that we wanted to do with it, but then you just get caught up in your own cycle, and as you say, it's just procrastination, and you just end up doing that over and over again, and it's hard to kind of break that cycle. You end up in that cycle and you kind of get out of it. And finally,
I definitely say that last year as well. It was like the perfect storm for procrastination. It was just anything you wanted to get done just couldn't be getting done.
It's weird though, because you had all the time. You had all the time to do it, but you still find an excuse to not do it. It's a bit of self-doubt as well, man. But then it's the same as everything. Once you get the ball rolling, once you make the first step, then everything else can just fall into place. That's what we find with this. We just went on day, we're like, fuck it, man, we just need to do it, rather than just talking about doing it.
Aye, exactly. Mm-hmm. You have to kind of dip your toe in first and see how it's actually going to go. But the best thing to do is just fucking jump in balls deep, really, into it. There's no point in dipping your toe. If it works, it works. If it doesn't,
cannonball.
Then aye. See, if it doesn't work, you've not really lost a lot. You've gained, really, because you've gained that new experience. You've gained that experience, as you say, Garry. You're meeting new people. You're learning new experiences, doing these different things. And I'm sure for the start of your podcast, you've met so many different people and learned so many different things that you might not have known when you first started.
Definitely. And all of the anxieties and the fears I had prior to starting it, like none of them came to fruition when I was actually sitting recording the podcast with a guest or by myself. None of the fears, all the situations that were playing out in my mind before actually starting it, of this might go wrong, I might say something, I might stutter, and my voice might crack, which it probably will. I'll probably do all the things tonight, but these things aren't actually as scary when they happen as your mind makes out them to be before they actually happen, if that makes sense.
That's the same, man. You always build up to be a big monster, and then when you actually face it, it's just fucking, it's not that big a hill. You just fucking do it, no bother. So what was your first episode about? Where did you start? I don't have a chance to look, mate. What was your first episode about, and how did you pick that topic?
Aye, so my first episode was, there was a 4-part series, and what it was I was listening to an audiobook called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Highly, highly recommend it. That book literally empowered me to start the process of making a change internally, which then in effect has a change externally. So what I decided to do was to document it. It was a 4-week process. The first week was so basically in the book, he talks about a process of meditation where you start off, say, week 1 was an induction. So getting yourself, doing a series of steps to get yourself into your subconscious mind while you're meditating. So for instance, that was week 1. Then week 2 would be pruning away the habits of being yourself. So you'd think about the habits that you do and you'd play them out in your mind. And your brain can't tell the difference between what's happening in your mind and what's happening in your environment. So you have the same emotions when these situations play out in your mind as you do if they were to play out in real life. So we're using that thesis to play out the situation. So for instance, biting my nails. So I bite my nails in my head, and then after it, I'd say change. So you're then creating that gap between your subconscious and that playing out in reality. So my first 4 episodes of the podcast was me documenting my process, going through these different stages of this meditation process laid out in this book, and that's where it sort of got started.
To be honest, it's fantastic. It's sort of like a kind of self-hypnotherapy in a way, isn't it?
That kind of links into like our first podcast as well. We done like drugs and like the good and bad of it. So like if it's like the bad effects of drugs, like that sort of like mentality could help you like make a positive change away from them.
Garry,
another thing, sorry mate.
Did you do any Think Act Feel?
Think Act
Feel? Any of that?
I'm not familiar with what that is. You able to enlighten me?
Aye, mate. I done it on a workshop by Dynamic Creations. It's a guy called Gerard Neal, and it was basically like you get into a state of meditation, and then the first step is to think like, what do you want to be like for today? What kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to be confident? Do you want to be fucking, I don't know, do you want to be kind? Do you want to be happy, right? Then the second step would be act. So how would that person act? And just play in your head what kind of stuff you're going to do, how that person would be in that situation through your day. And then feel would be what emotions would you have when you're feeling like that. And you're in this state of meditation and you're playing it out as if it's real in real life. And then you send that out to the universe. The universe takes it and creates it into your actual emotions, and then when you attack the day, you're just in that state. So you've already done it, and you've already set yourself up to be in that position.
That sounds familiar to like the last stage of that process. It was so the previous steps of it. So step 1 was getting into the state where you're in your subconscious, and then I think the second step was pruning away the habits that you've made already. The third step was that change process, so creating that gap between the habits that you want to break and your new reality. And the fourth part of that process was then envisioning the future. So how the person you want to be, how would they, like you just perfectly said, how would they think, how would they act, and how would they feel? And like you said about sending out to the universe, Dr. Joe Dispenza, he describes it as the field of infinite possibilities. You know, that resonated with me perfectly. That just made total sense. And see, it's weird, right? Because after I was doing this process, the quantity of synchronicities that started happening in my life was like 5-fold compared to previous. And I don't know, it was mental. It was genuinely. I thought I was losing my mind. I thought I was genuinely like, I'm reading in too much to this, but it wasn't. It was literally the feedback that I was getting from setting these intentions, sending them off to the universe or sending them off to the infinite field of possibilities, and then them coming full circle back into my life. And then that's when you get these sort of deja vu, sort of gut feeling moments. And you're like, whoa.
Aye. And that's like the reticular activation system in your brain, where you think if you're looking at a car, say you're looking at a BMW X5, right? You love it. You keep on looking at this car online. you'll be out on the road and you'll keep on seeing this exact BMW X5. It will overtake you. It will fucking slam the brakes in front of you. It will beep at you. It will just appear all the time. It will park next to you. And that's because your brain's like, it's got filters. And once you start, I don't know if it's taking a filter away. It's like taking a filter off, and you can start to see, like, you can attract things to come into your life, basically.
It's a law of attraction, that really, isn't it?
Things. It's a bit of both. Like, the law of attraction, you need to really believe it. You need to really believe something's going to happen for it to happen. And then the more you speak it, then the more likely it has of being, like, able to come to fruition. That's why the term abracadabra, you know, magicians say that.
Mm-hmm.
That means as I speak, I create. And it's a Hebrew. It's a Hebrew. It's a word for a like a spell. It's a spell because it's true. As I speak, I create, and it's quantum physics, and it's real. It's fucking. I'm sure Garry knows a good bit about it. It's fucking real stuff.
Here's a funny thing, right? I don't know if this is just a coincidence or not, but so I don't know if you're familiar with the saying, like, at the beginning, God spoke the first word.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the creation of the universe and stuff like that.
Aye.
So it was weird. So, like, he spoke the first word, and obviously sound, vibrations, frequency, all of that. That's what I believe makes up our environment, the universe, and all that. But when you look into the word universe and you break it into two different parts, you've got uni and you've got verse, right? So uni often means one, you know, like a unicycle. Verse is a passage of sound.
Oh my God, man. That's the first I've heard that one. That's a belter, mate.
Mate, I only came onto that recently and my mind was fucking blown.
That's brilliant, man.
That's good, man.
I've got a big question for you.
But
if a deaf person has been deaf all their life, what language do they think in?
I don't know, mate. I'd say.
I know.
I'd say fucking.
I'd say they think in sign language. That's what I'd say.
I guess if they can read probably English, but if they're deaf and blind, that should pretty much hump.
I don't really take that, mate. Like, what are you talking about?
No, that's a good question, mate.
If you have, like, no understanding of language or anything like that, like, what does your head go through? Like, how do you say, I want to go do this in your head?
I think it'd be deeper than language. Maybe.
Well, that all takes it back to the vibrations as well. Like, I think deaf people communicate a lot with, well, not communicate, but they understand vibrations of the planet a lot better than probably we would. I think they are a lot more connected to the planet, deaf people, because they're actually feeling the earth more than actually hearing it. Have you ever heard about the actual origin of language? Or, well, it's more a theory. Have you ever heard of the Annunaki? Have you heard, Garry?
I've heard of the Anunnaki, right? Yep.
It's quite a interesting and deep topic. Basically, the Anunnaki were these fucking mad. I'll use the term aliens, right? Just for talking sake. And they came to Earth about the Egyptian about that time, I think. And they came because we had a certain type of gold. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is my view of it. They came here because we had a certain type of gold, and this gold basically made the Anunnaki immortal, and they had to basically fast track kind of humans so that they could evolve faster and get this gold for them, because they couldn't obviously come to Earth. So they basically brought language to us, and they brought loads of things to us just to fast track us and get this gold. It's quite an interesting thing, isn't it?
Is that not one of the oldest Sanskrits, or the oldest text that we've found to date? The oldest actual scripture. That's what it said on it. It talks about the Anunnaki, the Watchers who descended.
The Watchers, mate.
The Watchers. I've heard of the Watchers. That's fucking mental, man.
It's weird. Like, there's also there's some weird shit that's like ties in with like gold and that. There's something I've got up there called Ormus, which is orbitally rearranged monatomic atoms. And it's this weird process that you do you do that with water and salt. But what these alchemists used to do, these people who are searching for the elixir of life, the philosopher's stone and all that, they made gold into like a orbitally rearranged monatomic form of it and break it down into this white powder. And that was called manna, M-A-N-N-A, by the ancient Egyptians and all the cultures from then. That's what Moses, he broke down part of this. I think it was like when he was taking the exodus of the Jews out of Egypt, he broke down some of the gold into this powder and made it into bread, and it was called manna. But this, see, when you put it on like the scales, kind of like the scales of justice, can you picture that? Kind of like when you put this powder onto that scale, that side of the fucking scale gets lighter. So it gets lighter.
What?
It gets lighter. That side of the scale gets lighter. It's weird. It is weird shit.
You got some of it?
I've got some, but it's in liquid form. And I take it under the tongue.
What does that do?
What's it supposed to do for you?
Obviously, it's one of these pseudoscience type explanations that you give, but it's like it says it heightens your frequency and your vibration that you operate from, and I like to take that before I meditate. And it's probably just a placebo effect that happens, but I feel like I get benefits from taking it. But there's another thing.
Get that from?
Where can you get that? So it's actually made out of water and Dead Sea salt or Celtic sea salt, any salt that's rich in Ormus. And there's a process that you do to like filter it out. But you can also just go onto something like Etsy or one of these sort of arts and crafts type websites
and just get it.
And get it. It costs me like 33 quid or something.
See, you don't mind. £33 isn't a lot to a lot of people, but you don't even mind paying that if it's going to better yourself, because you could go out and say a Friday night and spend £33 on fucking 4 drinks. And what's better for you, 4 drinks or something that's going to heighten your vibrations and make you a fucking better person at the end of it, really? Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's what they sell you on. That's what they sell you on. Whether it does that or no is another matter, but I believe in it.
As long as it works for you, man. That's what matters.
I do think like stuff like that, like CBD, the lot, all of that sort of stuff, it's like supposed to help you. I think like the placebo effect is like the strongest point of it. Like if your head thinks it's working, that's like a lot stronger than what anything could do for you.
That's true. What was the one they done? Sorry, they done one. It was they do like placebo pills or medication. It was like an experiment for people. They had back pain, then they'd give half of them like duds, placebos, and they gave half of them like just normal pills. And like the people who had the placebos said that they felt a massive relief after a week, and then they had no back pain after it. Because it was just it was just because they believe that they are getting better, so they actually do get better, and that's a law of attraction again, and that's manifestation again. So they still use them now. Like a lot of stuff's just placebos.
A lot of drug trials.
The biology of belief, Bruce Lipton. That is literally what everything's fucking comes down to, in my opinion, is whether you believe it or not. If we think that if you can get ill from stress, right? And like we said earlier, your brain doesn't know the difference between what's happening, what's playing out in your imagination and what's happening in real life. So when you think about your problems that you're having in real life, in your head, you're still triggering the same emotions and the same processes in your brain that's dripping stress into your body. So if your thoughts can make you sick, what stops your thoughts from making you healthy?
That's right, mate. That's fucking damn right, man. Everything started with a thought.
Everything does start with a thought. That's where manifestation comes in so much as well. Like, I think it's a very powerful tool to have if you believe that it works for you. Like, we can go back to the podcast again. All 4 of us really manifested this goal to go out and film a podcast, to create something that was meaningful to us, and it makes us all better people. It keeps us active, it keeps us motivated in the brain, to go and get a better guest or have more like anything, just to inform people on anything that you want to, and that's where you have to manifest these things. And it goes with anything, absolutely anything in life. I'm quite a strong believer in manifestation. I believe if you manifest whatever you want in life, finally and eventually it will come to you. I think it goes back with putting things out into the universe. You get back what you put in, and that's what I think anyway. I mean, there's been so many things in my life that have happened. What, Connolly?
Aye. Sorry, mate, I must have frozen. That can be bad as well, though. Like, if you're in a constant stream of thought where you're worrying about stuff and you're, like, pure scared something's going to happen, or you think you're going to go into this job interview or something, and then you're going to pure hit a ready and fucking start sweating and stuff, that will happen if you really think that's going to happen. Or if you think you've got an event coming up or whatever, and you think you're just going to fuck it, you're shiting yourself, you've got no confidence, and all you can think about is failing, and you will fail, mate.
Yeah, like manifesting as well. Like if you've like said for the last 10 years that I want this job, I really want, this is where I want my career to go, then you finally have that interview for the job. Your last 10 years are just focused on that one point, and you just go into the interview and you just freeze, because just your whole life's just riding on you performing at this specific occasion.
See, I think job interviews is a really good example of that, because for a lot of people our age, job interviews can be one of the most kind of nerve-wracking things that you can do, especially if it's for a job that you have been building up for. It's a job that you have been studying for and working so hard for. But I think for these types of situations that a lot of people forget, you need to prepare for them as hard as you can. See if it's something that you have manifested and it's something that you want. You can't also just expect to have it. You have to work for these things. Like, have you heard the saying, fail to prepare, then prepare to fail?
Aye.
It can't go any kind of better than that. If you've worked hard for something.
Aye. But then at the same time, as long as you're giving everything right and you're doing your bit, then if you don't get it, then it's not right for you. People get too beat up if they don't get something. It's obviously a reason. Like, what is it? They say the failure is the... I think it's...
Your success.
No. Well, let me get this right. Hold on. Rejection is the universe's protection. So it obviously wasn't right for you. So I know whatever happens to me, I know it's right for me. I know everything I'm bringing into my life now. The job that I've just got in that gym, being a personal trainer, I've made this all happen. I envisioned it. I knew exactly what I wanted to be. And then I spoke with the guy, Fergus, and we sorted it, and he's wanting me on the team. I planned this since when I started training at that gym with my own PT. So I made this happen. This has happened a lot for me. I've been using it properly. And then, but with other things, like, say I wanted something, like I wanted to do something, and then it never happened, and it never worked out as I thought I wanted to at the time. It was all for a reason, because then something better always comes along. And that's
I'm a big believer of everything happening for a reason. Because like times like something bad happens to you, and you kind of just need to think to yourself, just wait and see what the next thing comes along. It'll probably be better.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that one of the things that Dr. Joe Dispenza says to finish the meditations with, to go back to that book I was talking about, is that right at the end of the meditation is to say out, either out loud or in your head, that the future will pan out exactly how it's meant to for you. So then that sort of incorporates what we've been talking about. And to add something to like what we're talking about, the job interviews and stressful things like that, one of the things that I've felt helped me perform better in situations that are higher stress is visualizing it before it happens. Like visualizing you, say it's a job interview, visualizing you sitting down in front of that person and exchanging with them, visualizing that person asking you the question, visualize your answer to that person, keep repeating that process. And because we're inherently scared of the things that that are unknown, which, could be a job interview, it could be some other high stress situation where naturally get stressed and scared about these things. But another saying that I really like is that we don't rise to the occasion, we fall to our highest level of preparation. So that visualization process allows your body to become familiarized with that situation, and that's without even leaving your bedroom. You could just literally sit cross-legged and think about that situation playing out.
That's amazing, man. Because I know a lot of boxers and fighters do that before a fight. Like, I know people who will go, not personally, like I know a lot of the bigger athletes who will go into proper minute detail. Like, they'll go to the arena a week before and go to the changing rooms and see where they're going to be, and just so they can scope everything out, and then they'll do the ring
do their
walk
walkout and stuff like that. So it's
they'll get in
nothing
the
new.
ring and just like see, right, the referee's going to be standing there, I'm going to get announced standing here, my coach will be there, my opponent will be standing across the ring there, just so they know, like, this is what's going to happen. And then that night they'll sit and they'll just think, they'll visualise it happening, they'll visualise the ring walk, visualise everything so minute to the perfect detail. And then by the time it comes, they've already fought the fight in their head, they've already warmed up, they've already walked to the ring, they've already got announced, they've already boxed how they want to box, they've done round 1, 2, 3, all the way. They know how every round's going to go. And they've visualised like any problems happening, like any issues, maybe getting some adversity, like getting knocked down or something. They visualise getting back up, they feel fine, they're strong, they're ready to go again. They visualise everything, and they visualise a hand getting raised at the end. And then, so when it comes to that night, they've already done it. They're not scared, it's not new, because they've already done it 2 or 3 times in their own head before it actually happens. So it's just preparation to know what you're going to do and then executing it.
Right, definitely.
I mean, there's a quick one, just quickly, to do with the power of visualization. I can't remember the exact statistics on it, but this again was from that book I was telling you about. There's two separate groups in this study that were measuring finger strength, right? So this one group actually had a series of exercises to do to strengthen their finger, right? And they would do that. They say they'd done that for like a 3-week period. The other group sat down, meditated, and thought about doing that same thing. Although the people who done it physically, percentage-wise, had a higher increase in the power that was in that one finger, the group that done it and visualized it also seen a large percentage increase in the power of their finger just by visualizing doing the reps. And the same thing was performed doing pianos, like playing notes on pianos. The people who do it physically for 30 minutes a day compared to the people who done it mentally for 30 minutes a day, although these people progressed more, these people were still like marginally better than when they started.
So it's all about combining them. So if you use both of them together, it'd just be an even bigger mark.
Exactly.
The mind's such a powerful tool, and I just don't think that people utilise it to the strengths that
it's your superpower in a way.
I know.
It's just everyone has the superpower of their head, and just no one realises it.
I know for a fact that I don't utilise my mind as much as I really could. When I put my mind to things, I can do well, and I should probably do it a lot more. And it's the same with a lot of people. Like, see, if you actually put your mind to things, you can fucking do anything that you want, I think, really.
Gary, see what Jack just said, how he feels like he's not utilising his mind enough, or as much as he should, or he knows he can. What are 3 things, or maybe not 3, just what's a couple of tips you could give someone? Because you seem really well educated in this field, so what are just a couple of things you think anyone, any of the listeners, any us, Jack, me, other Jack, what do you think people can do to kind of optimise their mind and get the most out of it?
First thing I'd say is self-awareness. How self-aware are you at, like, there's no point putting your mind to something, say if it's your job or it's something that you fucking hate. You know what I mean? If you fucking hate it, why would you want to dedicate that much mental space to it? So first thing I'd say is, how self-aware are you? If you're not that self-aware, there's some things you can do to become more self-aware. I.e., one of the things I done right at the start of lockdown when I was really on this pursuit of trying to understand myself more, I asked my mum, what do you think is some areas that I lack in that I might not see myself? And then she'll come back with, say, 3 answers. Some of them might not be as true as the others, but no doubt there will be some gold in there that you can then act on. So self-awareness is a good one. Meditation is really good for learning more about yourself, because meditation literally means to become familiar with. That is literally the meaning of meditation. So self-awareness is a big one. Another tip I'd probably say to utilize your brain better would be to, I'd say, maybe be accountable as well. So accountability is another one. Although these aren't really like tips that are like go away and doing something like running or something like that. These aren't really that tips. These are more metaphysical or vague tips. But self-awareness, accountability, when you start saying like, I didn't do something because that person, or this is the reason why, and she's the reason why, and it's never you. You're never the person who holds yourself accountable. Then that's when I feel like you're not going to be utilizing your energy the best way possible, because you're too bored thinking about why someone else stopped you from doing this, as opposed to why you're not doing it yourself. That's probably the two big ones, I'd say.
That's brilliant, mate. Thank you. So no excuses. You're your own boss. Nobody's going to change your life except you. You need to be willing to change for change to happen. So, that's brilliant, man. Thank you, mate.
Let me just clarify. I am no expert in nothing like that. I go through the same struggles. I go through the same struggles as everyone else, but I just seem to take a keen interest into learning these different things.
It's a good mind state to have, mate. So thank you for coming on and having a good chat with us, mate. We've really enjoyed it.
Thank you, mate.
It'll be the first of many. We can have you on a good few times.
I'd appreciate that.
So
good talk.
Well, welcome,
Tune into Gary's podcast.
I'll leave the link down in the bio for his podcast as well. It's a good listen. With lockdown as well, you can be quite down in the dumps now. So just something to kind of take you away from your current situation. Just watching one of the videos and something like that. It's really helpful.
Tune in, guys. Get some good stuff to talk about.
So cheers.
Hope you've enjoyed it. Right, see you later.
Cheers, trips.